and take it away.
Okay, thank you, Eliana. So first off, quick microphone check. If you all can hear me, jump into the chat, give me a I hear you. Always good to know I'm working. And also, the chat's working because we're going to have a pop quiz in the middle of the presentation. Don't worry, everybody will pass. It's easy, but I'm seeing no chats. Do you see chats coming through, Eliana?
I do not see any chats.
Okay, go to the chat. We got to get the chat working because that's how you get graded on the pop quiz. Just let us know the chat's working. We know you're out there. Okay, a couple other housekeeping things.
Oh, I'm
I
I'm seeing chats coming through now.
okay,
So
okay, good. You're gonna pass. Those of you that are chatting are gonna pass the quiz. So I I love interaction. I love to hear questions. Um, I also get tunnel vision. I'm in like presentation mode. I'm talking about a slide. I do a bad job of keeping an eye on the chat and the questions coming in. So if something pops up in your mind, if you want more detail or you want to ask a question, please by all means type it in. I promise you, if I don't see it, if I don't get to it right away, we will make sure at the end that we go through all of the questions, comments, opinions, everything else that comes in. So that's the housekeeping. Now, so lots of us, including myself, are working from home right now. And in some ways it's fantastic, in some ways it's terrible, but it is our reality. As we move to selling remotely, it's been almost a year now, as we move to doing more and more online, it's really tempting. It's so tempting to say, well, why am I just selling locally? If I'm online anyway, I can sell in other states. I can get contracted in all 50 states. I can go big. I can go national. This is going to be the time. It doesn't matter where you are anymore. Geography is irrelevant in this year, in this time in our lives. And while that is true in many ways, I hope to convince you in the next half hour or so that for most of us, insurance sales, that is a terrible idea. It's a bad idea. And I'll talk to you about why. But I want you to walk out of here thinking about your local market, about how, there is lots to do in your local market and tremendous reasons for you to focus locally and focus on dominating your local market. So a couple takeaways besides that. The first, is three myths that I think are relevant to this national versus local. Three things that I hear all the time about insurance websites, about getting leads that are myths that are not true. And I'll explain the myth, I'll explain why it's not true, and we'll go into what the reality is. And we'll talk about what you should be doing instead and a simple plan, simple steps. It's actually not complicated. That works. And to show you that it works, let's do a quick tour of a few agents I know that have websites they've launched and they are dominating their local markets. This first one is Carl Ritz in Illinois. And Carl, I love Carl. Carl's one of those agents that loves a good product. He gets so excited about new products that have things that he thinks are really good for his market. Like he cannot, you can see the excitement in him. Experienced agent, he does not know a thing about SEO. He's an insurance guy, not a web guy, and yet here his site, and it's ranking, second for Illinois Medicare. He brings in leads every day to his website through that. Second one, this is Andrew. He is, he's a younger agent. He's very savvy. Andrew's the kind of agent that, works hard. He's diligent. He does all the things he's supposed to do. He checks off the list. And I know that he's learned a bit about SEO, but he's not an expert. He's not a web marketing person. He's an insurance salesperson. And he, in some searches, like, this one, he's the first two results for his local market. The first two are his website in Google. And this is a third one. This is my stock. This is a demo site I use. So you can see the phone number is a fake phone number, 333-4444. So it's not even a real agency, but it's been on the web for a long time. And because of my experience kind of knowing how to run websites, it's ranking top for search phrases. It brings in leads. It's kind of funny, even with the phone number 333-4444, I imagine people are calling that number and getting a number disconnected, or they're filling out these forms. It's generating leads. And this to me is proof that you don't have to do a lot to bring in traffic to your website. Now, the question is, what do all of these sites I showed you have in common? And we didn't get a good close look at them, so I'll give you the answer. All three of them are focused on a local market. We've got one that's Illinois, one that's New Jersey, that's entire states, and one that's Seattle. And in those local markets, they're ranking well for search phrases. They're bringing in prospects. When you go away from those markets, they might as well not exist. So, Carl making a great living in Illinois. He's not selling a lot of insurance in Utah, but he's pretty busy and doing well. So that's the proof. That's why I know this works. I've seen it. I've seen it with lots of agents. And so moving into these three common myths, and these are the things I think that people are getting wrong, that's causing stuff not to work. And if you fix these things, it's gonna really propel you to online success, and especially online success in your local market. So myth number one, and I hear this all the time, is all you need to do is put some keywords in the meta tags and repeat them a lot in the page. There's some trick. Just do this thing. Just go, change the image names on all of your images to your keyword, or some trick like that. And I especially see tons of advice from people who don't work in our industry. They're not working in insurance. And this might work with hot tub supplies, but that's a different industry. Insurance is maybe the most complicated industry, and there's some special reasons why I'll get into. We know that when you look at big businesses, big online advertisers like Google, the industry where they make the most money from, their number one revenue source by industry, is insurance. And so our industry is a little different. These tricks don't really work. I do see things like this. So this is a real site, and if this happens to be one of your sites today, I apologize. This is a site where they're looking at selling in Bellingham, Massachusetts. And so they've gone on their website and they've just put the phrase Bellingham, Massachusetts over and over and over again, often in ways that are grammatically incorrect, that they won't make it past a middle school teacher. And certainly a customer is going to look at that and say, when comparing Bellingham, Massachusetts plans, there's no such thing as a Bellingham, Massachusetts plan. That's just there to try to trick a search engine. And you see these pages like this that have the phrase they're trying to target just crammed in there. And they're thinking that they can trick the search engines. They can trick Google into getting their site to move up the rankings. Now, this might have worked 20 years ago. It doesn't work today. And the result is these horrible web pages that are totally unusable. So the reality is that, and this is amazing, Google has over 20,000 PhDs from the best universities in the world working there. Not just employees, but people with PhDs, the best and the brightest. In fact, there are some PhDs like machine learning, people who do machine learning. 80% of all PhDs in machine learning work at either Facebook or Google. They've locked down that market to the point where they've taken most of the faculty and everybody who has a PhD, and they're even now accredited to give their own PhDs. People do research there. So they have these super smart people, and they're all working on making this the best service possible. And they know that these simple tricks, just cramming in Bellingham, Massachusetts onto your web page over and over and over again, is not the best result possible. Now, we might be smart, but we're not going to trick 20,000 PhDs. We're not going to trick them. And so this simple trick, simple hack, it might work for a week or a month. It's not going to last. You need to focus on understanding the goal of these 20,000 PhDs and making sure that we are aligned with that. Understand their goal. So what is their goal? If you go to, Google is the biggest one certainly, but Bing, Yahoo, when you type a search into those search engines, they want to find the best and most relevant results for each query and each individual. So that's what they're working on. And there's a lot packed into this. The best and most relevant results for each query and each individual. So when somebody types in a search, think about what they're looking for. Let's break it down a little bit. So we have a query, a phrase that somebody types in, and behind that query, there's an intent. There's a need, there's a goal, there's a reason why we're typing in that phrase. And so they want to see if they can infer why somebody's typing in what they're typing in. What's their real goal? It's not to find the most optimized page. That's not the goal. That's not ever the goal. It's to answer some question. It's to find a solution to a problem. It's to connect with somebody who can help them. And they have this deeper intent than just the search phrase. The second is individual. Who's searching? And let's break this down a bit. So each of us, we have a location. And so certainly different locations, we're gonna have different results that are relevant based on where we are. We have different devices. We might be searching on our phone, our TV, our desktop. We might be driving in our car and we're using CarPlay and doing a search while we're driving. And that device tells a lot about what we're intending for. Desktop searches tend to be more research-based. Mobile searches are more transactional, people who are kind of on the go looking to buy something. Demographics, our age, our ethnicity, our income, our language, those all impact what we're looking for. And then also our own history, what we've searched for in the past, what we've clicked on in the past, the sites we've visited, and those all tell search engines a lot about what we're looking for. They're a really good indicator about what we care about when we do a search. And so when somebody types in a query, all of this gets wrapped into the results. And so we have these 20,000 PhDs that are working to crack this code. It's incredibly complicated. There's no simple trick, but we know that the best result is not the most optimized result. Your customers don't care about your HTML. They don't care how your H1 tag is structured. They don't care about your meta tags. They care about getting their insurance questions solved. They care about getting to an agent who is trustworthy and professional and can help them. And those PhDs know this. They know this. And so a search engine's goal is to help people searching to do the same thing. So when somebody searches for, insurance agent, they want to make sure that they're showing results of good, reputable, licensed insurance agents that can help that customer in their area. This plays into your strength. This is good news because probably most of you are not website gurus, search engine specialists. You're insurance specialists, you're licensed professionals to sell insurance. That is your strength. That is the solution to what most people are looking for when they're searching for insurance. The trick is that you have to help search engines a little bit. You have to give them a little indicator as to why you're relevant. Okay, here's the pop quiz so far. Don't worry, if you don't have a PhD in machine learning, you can still ace this quiz, I promise you. So let's imagine somebody goes in to a search engine and types in this query. They type in insurance agent. So think about that. So the next thing we want to know is, who are they? So this is an individual. They're a 50-year-old woman in Lincoln, Nebraska. So I'm going to show you two different options for search results. And when I show them to you, think about which one is the better option for this query for this individual. Option one was built by a team of SEO experts. It's a perfectly optimized website, and it was built by this Ukrainian lead generation firm. They're in the Ukraine, they generate leads, they sell the leads. Perfectly optimized. That's optimized, option one. Option two, not so well-built website, not so perfectly optimized, by a well-established independent insurance agent in Lincoln, Nebraska. Been doing this for a long time. Lots of reviews, lots of happy clients, but they don't know much about SEO. Go ahead and type in the chat. This is why I told you you would ace this. Which is the better option to show for this query in this individual? Type in the chat. If anybody says option one, let's talk. Because we know the answer. The better option is option two. The better option. And this is intuitive to all of us. It's intuitive to the 20,000 PhDs. It's intuitive to everybody. And so this is why we know that long term, we don't need to worry so much about these tricks. We need to worry about making sure that search engines know that you are well established, an independent agent, you know what geographic market you're in, so they can help show you to the right people at the right time. So the winning strategy, this is what these 20,000 PhDs want as well, is for us to focus on building great experiences for your customers, great sites for your customers that represent you and your experience, and not worry about search engines, not worry about that, but worry about how can you take what you already do offline and show the same level of service online. So this is the first of these myths. The second myth is a little different. This is kind of more, maybe about our own comfort level online. When we go to the web, we see these huge companies, these, GoHealth and eHealth. They're public companies with billion-dollar valuations. They've raised tons of venture capital to get there. They've got thousands of employees, and you see this and you say, okay, my online competition is these huge organizations, these huge brands. And if I'm going to compete with them, I can't look like just somebody selling out of my home. I need to look like a huge organization. And so what we see is agents often will launch a website and kind of hide behind it. They'll put up a big brand, they'll make it appear like they're a .com, and they'll make it appear like they have a big team, and try to look like GoHealth or eHealth or one of those eMedicare. So the reality is that your brand is not Medicare quotes for you or long-term care quotes for you.com. Your brand doesn't end in .com. Your clients probably know you by name. They know you as the person they talk to, not some .com. And I want to talk about this key ranking factor with search engines that's dramatically going to affect and help every one of you. And it's directly tied to your brand. And we call this your money or your life. And if you think back, not too far in the past, 10 years ago, the web was full of scams. The web was full, especially like you think about like six-pack abs and weight loss and just quit smoking, sleep better. These like scams where you go take sawdust pills and it solves all your problems, and that affects your key aspects of your health, your money, your life. And so search engines realized that those Ukrainian lead gen firms were getting really good at ranking their sites, and they were starting to show some content that could be harmful, where misinformation could lead to harm of finances or health. And so they said, you know what, we're going to carve out some categories and give them special treatment. We're going to build a wall around these categories. And they said any site that covers these topics, we're going to give extra special consideration to, special criteria. And we want them to maintain that they have demonstrated expertise. You think about, if you're reading about like, diagnosing a heart issue, like your heart's racing, and you go and you search in Google, my heart's racing, what's going on? And you get to some Ukrainian spammer. I don't mean to pick on Ukraine, some foreign, lead gen firm that's building this website. And if you go and read this information about your heart, this could cause somebody to die. You want to make sure that the person that's giving you advice is a licensed cardiologist, has gone to medical school, has gone through the residency and the fellowships, so that what they tell you is not going to be potentially deadly. And insurance falls in the same category. Google has published some what they call their quality guidelines, and they listed out your money or your life pages. Anything they say they think gets special consideration. And guess what? Under finance, right there is insurance. They've called this out. They said that insurance is something that we know historically there's there's a contract between the insurance company and the insured that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. We have lots of regulations to make sure that happens. Without all of that, it kind of falls down. And so they're giving insurance the same consideration they would, heart recommendations. So the reality is that your offline activity, the fact that you have a license, the fact that you have E&O insurance, the fact that you have a physical presence, that you have happy, real customers local to you, are all big indicators of your trust. And you need to make sure that you connect this offline activity, this local presence, your business license, your Better Business reviews, social media presence, with your online activity, because that's going to help search engines map that connection to show that you're somebody they can trust in your money or your life content. So, and they say this, they say, when they look at these factors, they have this thing they call EAT, E-A-T, which is expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And they look for this to demonstrate a higher level of trust, knowledge, and credentials, to show what topics in the your money or your life categories they'll rank your site for. So, license, location, years in business, third-party validations, association memberships. They have access to all of that data. It's all part of their index, and it all is going to be part of what helps make you get traffic, get customers online. So the good news about this, and it sounds like a lot of work, most of it's already in place for you. You have to connect the dots. It also keeps the scammers away. It makes it a little harder for you to get your presence established online. But once you're there, it builds a moat around you, a defensible wall that will slow down the competition. It will slow down. Now, it's going to make it harder if you have a new website, new online presence. If you're a new agent, it means it's going to take a little longer in our industry than say, hot tub supplies. But once you're there, you're set. You're going to be in a really good position. So one more thing about your brand, the most important search phrase for you. And we talked about the fact that you're not a .com. People know you by name. Your most important search phrase is your name. And so if you haven't done this, you may have, go and type in your name, make sure that you can be found, make sure that you show up, make sure that people find your insurance page, they can get your contact information, they can reach you by name. Now, if your name is John Smith or something that, there's many of you in your community, you can add insurance or agent to specify, which John Smith you are. If you don't find yourself, here's the quick game plan. So go to your website, make sure you have a bio, 3 to 4 paragraphs about you, put a picture up there, make sure your name is in the header so it's clear this page is about you, list your credentials, list your experience, list your licenses, put your license numbers, what states they're in, put it on there, make it easy to map it back to the state license directory so people can see that this is in fact that agent. And then go to LinkedIn and just link to the page from your LinkedIn profile to add a little external validation to it. You do those things, 30 to 45 days later, you'll probably start to find yourself online. So take care of that. The winning strategy on this myth 2 is you need to show your expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness by connecting your online presence to your offline presence, to your biggest differentiator, to you. And not worry so much about the online competition, not worry about the call centers and the .coms, and think more about the value that you bring, the fact that you have experience, you have special knowledge and credentials to help your clients. All right, we talked about this before, myth number 3. Now that I'm online, I can sell anywhere. And it's so tempting, right? Because you're like, okay, if I go to a bigger market, if I live in a small town and I start to sell in Los Angeles, there's lots of people there I can sell to. Or I can go to, all 50 states and be nationwide. I'm going to be huge. Now that we sell remote, now that we're all, selling distance sales, telesales, online sales, this is really tempting. And we probably are even seeing our customers are moving and taking this into other states already. And so it's tempting to say, well, I used to only be in Washington, but I had a customer move to Oregon. I got a license there to help them. So maybe I should go try to sell there as well. tempting. The reality is the more geography you cover, the wider the territory you are, the more competition you have. The further you go from your home base, the fewer differentiators, the less special you are, and the more you're kind of playing into your competition's strength where you're weakest. So we know that people buy local. People know that insurance is regulated by state. They know they need to have a licensed agent in their state. And search engines know this as well. And so this is a really key aspect to making sure that you're found is taking that local aspect into your content. There are no independent agents in the top 10 results for any primary search phrase. So you go look for life insurance, long-term care, critical illness, Medicare supplement, health insurance, you name it. There are 0 independent agents ranking on the first page of any of those phrases on really any search engine. You'll see Wikipedia, you'll see New York Times, you'll see large online brokers, you'll see associations, you'll see carriers. They've all taken those first spots. And so there's really no opportunity at a national level for us to try to bring in traffic via search engines. There's no opportunity there. The opportunity is all local. Another example, here are 2 different searches for the exact same thing. This is a search for Whole Foods Portland. So imagine you're in Portland and you want to find a Whole Foods. You type in Whole Foods Portland. Now, there is a Portland, Maine, and there's a Portland, Oregon. And imagine if you were in Oregon and you looked for a Whole Foods and it gave you directions to Maine. That would be terrible. So this is that same search. One is in Oregon, one's in Maine, and you can see they show you, the different stores, the different locations. The results are very different. And the only change is location. So winning strategy is to focus on your local region and keep it local. I imagine all of us have enough people in our local region to keep us busy for a long time if we can reach them. And so if we focus there where our strength is best, we will be in a good position. All right, so that's great, but how do you do that? So it turns out there's this thing called local SEO, and that's local search engine optimization. That's what the 3 agents that I showed at the beginning were all taking advantage of, which is to focus on your strength. And there's 3 pieces to it, and they're not that complicated. The first one is you need to make sure you have content on your website about the things that you sell. So you need to have content about your products. You have good content that goes into some depth, not like PhD level depth, but explains long-term care, Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, final expense, whatever you sell. You want to have content about that so that it's clear when they come and crawl your site, they know what it's about. You also want to have, of course, content about you so they can find your name, your information, that's your site. The second is you need to demonstrate with confidence your location. You need to show them your geographic region. And you do this by managing what are called citations. And citations are your listing on local business directories. The biggest ones are Google My Business. You can go to Google and just type in Google My Business and it'll take you right there. You want to make sure you go and claim your Google My Business listing. Go and fill that out, complete it. Make sure that you're in Google's directory. That's how you get on their map. Bing has Bing Places. Yahoo has one. Then go to Yelp, go to your Chamber of Commerce, and make sure that your citations are present and they're consistent, that you have the same business name, the same address, the same phone number on all of those, because that's how search engines are going to go and get confidence about where you're located. If they see that, in Bing, you're in Oregon, Google My Business, you're in Washington, on Yelp, you're in Idaho, that's going to not give them a lot of confidence, and they're not going to share your location. But if they see Washington, 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 same address in all the places, they're going to say, okay, we're pretty confident this is the local market for this agent. And the final thing is giving them something to eat. This is that expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. And the easiest way to do this is to get online reviews. So go to Facebook, go to Google My Business. It doesn't even take a lot. It takes 5 or 6 reviews on each of those. And reach out to some customers, give them a link and say, could you take 2 minutes and write 2 or 3 sentences about how I've helped you? And go and proactively reach out. It's not going to happen by accident. And get 5 or 6 reviews on each of them. And then over time, make a habit of asking for more so that you're slowly building that up, so that you're showing consistent activity and track record. You also want to keep your content fresh, so update your website, make sure it's not 2014 copyright, that there's not old product information. Certainly healthcare, under 65 healthcare, Medicare, regulated products like that change every year. You want to make sure that's current. Keep your content fresh and updated. And then also making sure that there's a clear way to connect you, the real person, with your website, using your name, using your license numbers, so that when they go and crawl your site, they can see who you are and validate your expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. So these 3 steps: show what your site's about, demonstrate your locations, and then give Google something to eat. If you do these 3 things, you will see your site start to move up in the local rankings. And that's what's going to allow you to dominate your local market. So thank you. That's what I've got. Eliana, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, thank you, Aaron. Insightful as always. I want to make sure that we just answered all of the questions in the chat here. Looks like our chat is going off. Good job, Aaron.
Okay, I'm not seeing the questions, I think, so maybe you could read them off to me.
Yes, so we have one that says, what is the definition of well-established? Is it established online or something else?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's both. So a new website, if I launch a website today, especially in these your money or your life categories, because it's brand new, there's gonna be some skepticism about ranking it. And so it's gonna take longer for a new insurance website to rank than a new hot tub supply website to rank because of that establishment. Now, not a ton longer, it's not like 20 years, but as opposed to weeks, it's gonna be months to start to establish yourself. Now, offline, if you can show an established track record, if you can show that your license goes back years, if you can show reviews from customers going back years, that's going to really help you. Again, because of that expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness, time is a big factor in that. And that's why you want to get these 6 reviews right now and then make it a habit, every quarter to go and ask for a couple more so that, for the next 2 or 3 years, you build up a history. So hopefully that answers the question.
Cool. Another question that just came through is, would you suggest adding a short Loom video to your website for EAT?
I think videos are great. It doesn't have to be Loom. Loom is a way to record. And I like Loom because you can very quickly, I use it kind of in a one-on-one. So if I were sending a customer a proposal or answering a question, I might do a Loom video just for them. And then maybe if you want to do an explanation of a product, answer a question, you get to answer the same question over and over again about long-term care. Record a 1-minute-long video answering that question. I put it on YouTube just because YouTube has a wider reach, and then also put it on your site. Videos are great for that.
Awesome. Well, cool. I also just really quickly want to touch on the next webinar. We scheduled one yesterday in front of this one. We've cracked the code, keeping LTC affordable.
Oh.
So that is on, yeah, sorry, Aaron, to throw that at you. But that one is going to be on Wednesday, February 17th, but we threw in another webinar next Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific on Thrivent long-term care. Alongside a top quality long-term care product, Thrivent also offers a generous incentive through March 31st. That's going on right now. So you're definitely going to want to tune into that webinar to learn more about that. Registration for it is now open on our website, whyaim.com, as well as this webinar that Erin has up on the screen right now on the 17th. So anyways, yeah, thank you, Erin, and thank you everyone for being here today. Our marketing team will be following up with you all sometime today or tomorrow. But if you have any questions before then, always feel free to give us a call at the office at 800-672-7202. And I think that's all. Erin, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you all.